Hey guys, so today I'm going to do a long overdue tutorial on how to grow Nepenthes. I have never done a tutorial for that, even in like 60 videos in a year of having my channel, so I'm going to do that for you guys today. So, people say that Nepenthes are like extremely hard to grow or something. Like, I don't know who comes up with this stuff, but they're like the easiest things to grow. Like, I can't grow Drosera, and everyone says those are easy, but I can grow Nepenthes perfectly fine. So it might have something to do with growing conditions. So your growing conditions, it should be like really humid, and that means like, I don't know, like 60, well it gets down to like 60% humidity in here, sometimes during like a really hot day. Today it was like 90 degrees outside, and it was 80% humidity at the hottest part of the day. I'll show you a little gadget that I use to keep control of humidity, which is this. It's just like, it's a humid hygrometer, or humid, I don't know, is it called a hygrometer? I'm not sure. But it measures humidity, and it is at, right now it's at like 84%. So anywhere like 60% and above is good, and at nighttime I have like 90% humidity, because it, you know, it just gets humid in here at night. Another thing is temperature. So Nepenthes are highland, lowland, or intermediate. It doesn't really like, so it's just by their elevation. So Nepenthes at like lower elevation, which would be lowland Nepenthes. I have one behind me right here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's gonna be really hard to get out because it's like my biggest one. But I'll show you another one here. It's a lowland hybrid, which is Nepenthes St. Pacificus, which is Ventricosa by Insignis. And Insignis is an ultra lowland Nepenthes, so something like this would want much warmer conditions, so that would mean like they could tolerate probably like 100-degree temperatures during the day. But I don't have anywhere near that. I have, well, my greenhouse stays between, you can see right back there on the wall, which you can't see, it stays between about 54 degrees Fahrenheit and 84 degrees Fahrenheit day and night swing. For highland Nepenthes, you're gonna need a lot more of like a nighttime, daytime swing, and I mainly grow highland Nepenthes. And I also have like a few lowland hybrids mixed in. Yeah, I don't know, like really lowland plants like Ampullaria, I have 2 in here, but they're not that doing well. So to sum that up, because it was really confusing, lowland Nepenthes should have like 60-degree night temperatures Fahrenheit, and maybe like 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit daytime temperatures. And highland Nepenthes should be in the low 50s at night, and probably into the 80s during the day, most of them. There's also ultra highland Nepenthes, which are like Villosa or Edwardsiana, although Edwardsiana can also be like grown in intermediate, but Villosa would require like 40-degree night temperatures and nothing over like 75 during the day. I don't know, I've never grown them, I'm just going off of what I read. And intermediate is like right between those two, so it's like really like variable and stuff, so they're like really hardy and all of this. Okay, bye. The next thing I should talk about is watering. Watering really depends on your growing conditions. If you're growing in a really dry climate, then you're probably gonna have to water more. But if you're growing in like a terrarium where it's always humid, there's not much air circulation, you're gonna have to water. Like when I was growing in a terrarium, I didn't water more than once a month, and that was like really wanting to water the plants and, you know, have stuff to do. But there were some times I could just go like 3 months without watering the plants if they were in a terrarium with like 90 degrees humidity, 90% humidity, not degrees. Okay, bye. But yeah, so what you gotta do is just, you know, figure out your watering schedule, find your thing, and Kaiser reference. So if you have a ton of air circulation, you're gonna have to water like a lot more. You can see like right here on this guy, I water to keep this moss, on the sphagnum moss, I keep that wet. And that's basically how I know if it's like too dry or too wet. It pretty much stays wet all the time. I have them in little trays because I get angry when this moss dries out and it's all sad and stuff. So, there. Okay, sorry. So you have to water only with distilled water, rainwater, reverse osmosis water, like the stuff that has like 0 minerals in it, because that's like one of the most important things to keeping Nepenthes alive in all carnivorous plants. They need like super low minerals in their water. So if they get too much minerals in there, then it will burn the roots and you won't have a carnivorous plant anymore. So tap water is not good for most places. There's some places where the total dissolved solids is like really low in their tap water. So you could either research that if you're really lazy and you don't want to buy like distilled water, or you could just go to the grocery store and buy distilled water. They sell it there. Oh, lighting is one other issue that is issueful. It is very variable for like each different species. There like a lot of the lowland species, well, some of them at least, can take a lot of sun, but other ones like Ampullaria, I mentioned that earlier in the video, I think, unless I cut that part out, that is going to hate the sun. So when I put it out here, it immediately sunburned, and I will show you what that looks like. So this is a sunburned Nepenthes ampullaria. You can see right here the red leaves, that's not good, and then completely brown, crinkled, dehydrated. You're not going to want this on your plants. If you see it like dehydrated looking, like that, that's not good. It's probably too much light, too little water, you know, that stuff. I mean, it could be a lot of things. It could be low humidity even, but when you get like this, it's like, you know, oh, it's dripping on me, oh my god. So if there's too much light, it will get sunburned, but if it's like light deprived, I mean, I don't really think you can light deprive them too much, because if you're lighting them in any way, they're probably going to survive, just not as well as they would with natural, like, sunlight. So, like, when I was growing in a terrarium, they were under, like, 40 watts of light, and I think it was, like, even, it was a very blue light, so it wasn't, like, 6000 Kelvin or whatever. I guess it's K is Kelvin, yes, okay, bye. But, so you can't light, but they grew perfectly fine and everything. I didn't grow them in a terrarium long term, just long enough to get my greenhouse up and running, but, I mean, they survived for quite a few months, but you should get something, like, there's the swamp cooler. But if you want to get a light to light your terrarium, you could just do something like 6,000 to 6,500 Kelvin, somewhere in there. I mean, the higher wattage is better, but if you have a greenhouse or a windowsill, just grow there, and it will get natural sunlight, and we'll be all happy. And another thing about growing in natural sunlight, a perk to it, when your Nepenthes get to like a vining stage like these behind me, they will flower when it gets into spring or summer, when the light levels start extending. In my last video, I showed you guys my flowering Nepenthes ventricosa by Talingensis, which is right here. It's going to be hard to get down, so I can't really show you, but it just started flowering, and now it is July. So they can pretty much flower any time of year except probably winter. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't have many Nepenthes that flower, so... Oh, and another thing, Nepenthes don't keep their pitchers forever. They will turn black eventually, and they will fall off. Well, they won't fall off, just kidding, that's a lie. They will turn black, they'll like lose all their moisture, they'll crinkle up and everything, and you'll know. Then that's when you cut it off. But I'll show you an example of something like that. An example of that is like right here. You can see the top of this starting to blacken. This is a Nepenthes ventricosa. But you can see the other pictures, they're nice and pink and everything, and this one's about to open. But this one is pretty old, so it's dying. But I like to cut them off. I'll leave them on as long as they can, because this one still has food in it. Ants that's digesting it in the pitcher fluid down in there. So I'm going to leave it on, that way the plant gets more nutrients until the thing just dries up completely. Just leave them on as long as possible, yeah. And you also want to cut the dead leaves off. I have one right here, which is going to be somewhat difficult, but also somewhat easy to get out. What? Oh gosh, okay, wait, what am I doing? So this is my Nepenthes Lowe by Sphagnum, so you can see right here. It has a dead leaf on it. I left that on just for this video. So it will turn like brown like this eventually, and they'll fall off, and these will be the older leaves at the bottom. So what you're going to do is just take a pair of scissors, like this one right here, and cut it as close to the stem as possible. It doesn't really matter, just cut it like that. Yep. And also, there's no requirement that you have to feed the pitchers. It just really helps them grow. If you put, I don't know, if you don't have bugs or you're growing in a terrarium, then you can go to Petco or PetSmart and buy some mealworms and just stuff those in the pitchers if they're big enough. If it's a really small plant, the pitchers are going to be pretty small and you can't really fit stuff in there. So just wait until it gets bigger and give it lots of light. But I don't think, since that you're watering with distilled water, it will probably get nutrient starved in a few years if you don't feed it at all. So you should feed it like once a year minimum or something, I don't know. In here, there's tons of ants, so the pitchers just fill up with ants, and there's like that much of a layer of ants in like that big of a pitcher. It's like huge, and it's really weird.